managing the wealth for life. Mahogany strong, yeah, we on our lane. Breaking every chain, never stay the same. It's a new day, yeah, we take control. Build it up, exit down, that's the goal. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Mahogany Circle Podcast. I am so excited to be here with you on today. I'm your host, Dr. Tabatha Russell, and my co-host on today, of course, is the amazing Dr. Dan Young. Welcome in, sir. How are you?
Doing well. How are you doing tonight?
I am fantastic. Look, we're going to jump right into this podcast on tonight, okay? Because we're talking about the Law of Metamorphosis. Now, I don't know about you, but this one goes in, right? We're going to talk about why your greatest success requires becoming someone new. Now, I'm just going to say welcome everyone to another episode of the Mahogany Circle Podcast. Today's conversation is about one of the most encouraging truths in all of personal development. You don't have to stay where you started. But today we're exploring the law of metamorphosis. Every leader, every entrepreneur, every investor, every visionary has gone through seasons of transformation. The problem is that most people quit because they mistake one stage for the destination. Now, Dr. Dan, I am sure that you have some insights on this, right?
Sure. This is a really important point. I think oftentimes you could be in social media, you see someone's journey, not understanding where they started or where they are right now. And so oftentimes people will compare their beginning to someone else's masterpiece. And that's always a problem doing that. We have no idea of the journey that someone has had to get to where they're going. We don't know if they're at the end of their journey, the beginning, or the middle. So they don't realize that they're looking at one particular stage of a journey and not the end result. So when we talk about this concept of metamorphosis, becoming something else, we have to always remember that we need to stay focused on writing our own book and following our own blueprint. And that's a lot of what we do with the circle.
Yes, I love that. Exactly. Today, we'll discuss the 4 stages of transformation, why success is a process, not an event. The Walt Disney story, right? Like I love the whole business structure, the ecosystem around Walt Disney, as well as why many people plateau, and then how to embrace the next version of yourself. And when we're talking about these 4 stages, nature teaches us something extraordinary, right? A butterfly doesn't just become beautiful overnight. It goes through some stages. The caterpillar as well doesn't know it's becoming a butterfly, right? It just simply keeps growing. It goes through the process. And the same is true for people. There are seasons when you're learning, when you're building, when you're leading, and seasons when you become the vision itself, right? Would you agree with that, Dr. Dan?
Absolutely. I think one of those old phrases that you would used to hear, whether it's through business, relationships, or what have you, is that people are there for a reason, people are there for a season, or people are there for a lifetime. And our mistake is believing one season is permanent. One season is just there to get you to the next season. And those people who plan effectively through each of the seasons, they always end up being the ones who are the most successful at the end.
That's right. Exactly. I quite often have conversations with people, and a lot of them follow me on social media, and they're like, oh my goodness, girl, you doing it. You done made it. And I'm like, I got 20 more steps to go, right? Like I'm looking at all these different levels that's ahead of me. And I'm just like, wow, if that's what they think, then I'm like, I need to catch up, right? Because I'm like, maybe I'm behind, or they see something different, right? But your current chapter isn't your final chapter. And that's one of the things that I hold close to chest, right? Knowing that there's always more. So every stage has a purpose. And the question isn't whether you're growing, the question is whether you're willing to keep evolving. So let's jump into the Walt Disney case study, Dr. Dan. Let's talk
Mhm.
about this for just a moment. Most people know the empire, right? But few know the evolution. So Disney began as a young artist trying to earn a living. His first animation company failed, right? So he lost contracts. Like, you know what? I've been there. Things haven't, every day hasn't always been my best day. But Walt Disney also struggled financially. So many people would have concluded that they simply weren't meant for success. What do you think about that, Dr. Dan?
Well, I think everything in nature tells us that without destruction, there's no creation. You could look at something as simple as going to the gym. If you want to build bigger muscles, you have to rip muscle fiber and let it build back. So every single success was based on a number of different small tasks that were failures, right? We understand that there's a big difference between failing and being a failure. Failing is a necessary part of success. Being a failure just means that you gave up. So failure becomes part of this transformation that eventually leads you to where you want to go.
That's real good. That's real good. Disney didn't remain an illustrator, right? He became a storyteller and then a filmmaker, then a studio builder, and then a visionary who imagined something the world had never seen, which we know today is Disneyland, right?
Hmm.
He wasn't just creating cartoons anymore, he was creating experiences. And eventually, he wasn't selling movies, he was inviting people into an entirely new world. Now, I don't know about you, that's a visionary in, that we get to see in real life, right? We get the opportunity to experience it. And it's said that Disney gives the best customer service in the industry. Like,
Hmm.
hands down, flat out, there's no comparison. And a lot of other companies now model their customer service attributes after Disney. Tell me just a little bit about that, Dr. Dan.
Well, I mean, I think, that's what's really remarkable about people like Walt Disney who have become not just a brand, but an identity. One of the major challenges that we face, whether that's in academia or working as coaches, is this world of social media identity. This ability to go online, use filters, use rented jets, rented cars, rented everything to try to pretend that you have an identity. But that identity was not built on small failures that have created the muscle fiber and created the calluses to be a real business person long term. When you create a false identity that was not built by continual evolution and continual trial and error to get somewhere, that identity will eventually fall. So that's why you see millions, if not billions, of people on social media trying to put forth an identity, but because they have not actually had the real evolution, then it's not going to stick for any long amount of time. So that's the beauty of Walt Disney, is his greatest transformation was not his business. It was an identity that was built step by step, brick by brick, through each of these different careers that he had made. And so then once we have Disneyland, it is a conglomeration of all of those failures, but also all those successes that got built from each of those failures.
That's right. I definitely can see why. Sometimes I think going through those levels of transformation or metamorphosis, as we're talking about it today, is necessary though. Because
Mhm.
if we get into business and we think that it's just one way, we're bound to fail, right? We're bound to fall on our face because um, every day is not the same as far as being an entrepreneur. I tell people that there's a couple of things that you got to be good at as far as being a business owner. One is that you got to be malleable, right? Like being
Mhm.
able to pivot, as well as you have to position yourself to be resourceful, right? To figure some things out and keep it moving on your feet. So every stage we can see here that it prepared Walt Disney for the next one, right? Had he stayed comfortable as an illustrator, there might have never been a Disney empire,
Mhm.
right? So I am always looking at some of these case studies in a way that Man, you know what? We got some more work to do for sure. So let's talk now about why people stop evolving, right? Many people
Mhm.
stop growing the moment they become comfortable and they earn a decent income. Some of them gain some recognition. They become good at what they do, and then they stop becoming. And Dr. Dan, I don't know about you, but becoming is definitely, I think, something that we got to be probably the best at, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's why whenever we talk about people in the circle, we're talking about doing wealth planning and thinking about where you want to be at the end of the journey. I think, if personally, I've gone through several journeys of my life. I've gone through journeys with relationships, journey with like weight loss. I always say that, it's really, really hard to, let's say, lose more than 50 pounds, not because people can't get into the practice of exercise and diet. It's because around that 25-pound mark, people start telling you how good do you look.
Mhm.
And then surprisingly, that's exactly when you stop going to the gym.
Right, right,
Because now you've gotten comfortable in like, hey, like this has worked. Now you're nowhere near what your goal was, but you became comfortable because society has told you you're okay.
right.
This is a major issue with most entrepreneurs, that once you get the ball rolling and you're able to at least replace your income, and everyone's like, hey, listen, you made it. You don't have to go back to work. You have a nice car. Kids are in school. That's usually when the process of evolution stops for most people. They've completely abandoned what the goal is because now they feel like they're on autopilot. And we really have to think of ourselves less like, a Boeing 747 and much more like a rocket ship. A Boeing, when it takes off, it has that major thrust that gets you to 30,000 feet, and then you cruise at cruising altitude for a while. That's where most people are with most of what they do and most of what they do with business. Now, as entrepreneurs, we have to think of ourselves as a rocket ship. We're going straight up, complete propulsion, all the way till we get out of the atmosphere. And so we have to really kind of indoctrinate ourselves that along the way, two things are going to happen. It's going to be really, really hard, and some people quit, or it's going to get easier, and some people will settle. And so we
Mhm.
have to really, indoctrinate ourselves and train ourselves to be the rocket ship that goes all the way to the moon and doesn't
Mhm.
stop to there, as opposed to just going to cruising altitude.
That's right. I do definitely believe that to be a fact, right? Comfort whispers you arrive, and growth whispers there's another level, right? The danger isn't failure. The danger is just settling for being okay with being where you are, right?
Mhm.
And I will use your weight loss analogy is that in order for some of us to get to a place of comfortability, we got to break some things down. We got to break some old habits. We got to break the mindset of I can eat anything I want to, right? And stop feeling like we're going to get some great results. So it definitely does make a difference. So let's shift just a little bit and talk about from success to significance, because there's a difference between success and significance. There's a huge difference there. Success asks questions like, what can I achieve? Where significance asks, who can I become, right? Success builds wealth, and significance builds legacy. So, Dr. Dan, share with us just a little bit about your thoughts on success versus significance.
And I think in previous podcasts, I've talked about this concept of, people are always looking for the magic. You can have social media and have magic. You can have AI and have magic. You can create these magic moments. But we know that magic is less than a moment is less than a minute, but a minute is less than a movement. And to really have long lasting change, you have to create a movement. The beautiful thing about a movement is twofold. The first thing is it's a major thing. It's not going to be accomplished in one day, 1 week, 1 year. It's part of, a long-term process of creating something. The second thing about a movement is movements don't happen with one person. You have to bring people along with you. And that's why most businesses, if you're trying to scale from 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures, a lot of that scaling is how many leaders did you build during that process? If you're not going to be able to scale anything unless you have those leaders in place that you're growing and cultivating there. So, and the way that you really get great leadership and great leaders behind you is they have to be following a movement. They have to believe in the vision that you've put forth, and they have to be fully indoctrinated in that vision. So people always remember vision more than they remember transactions. It's very easy to buy some Bomba socks or some Tom shoes. You might buy them. You might think, wow, these are really overpriced, but they sell because they give one pair of socks for each one that you buy, or Tom's gives you one pair of shoes that goes to a different country for one pair you buy. This is all based on this vision of, I have the money, other people don't, let me share the wealth with other people. So as entrepreneurs, we always have to remember that very, very first law that we talked about, right? The very first thing that you have to do as an entrepreneur is have a compelling vision that you can share with others and that you can build through systems. And that's really what makes businesses successful.
Yes, I love that. The greatest leaders eventually become symbols, right? Because they figured out that they've created movements around their products and their services, and their lives begin representing something bigger than themselves. So I want to share just for a moment about a modern day example of metamorphosis, right? So think about some of the world's most recognized leaders. Let's use Oprah Winfrey, right? Who transformed from broadcaster to global philanthropist. And then there's Howard Schultz. He transformed Starbucks from a coffee retailer into a culture, right? You know, we're going to have to talk a little bit more about Starbucks on one of our episodes, because they have a very good and unique type of ecosystem, right? They're not just coffee, right? Same way with McDonald's. McDonald's is not just McDonald's. They have a whole structure around what it is that they do. So Sara Blakely transformed from selling fax machines to building $1 billion company. Yep, billion with a B. And none of them skipped stages. They honored each one of the stages. So Dr. Dan, when you're building businesses, you're acquiring new ventures, talk about that just a moment, that those stages of metamorphosis, because I think sometimes we get there, we have the business, we got the rights to it, and we feel like we're going to walk into a well-oiled machine. Just talk about that just a little bit. What have you had to learn? And we can just even talk about your most recent venture.
Well, I mean, I think that when we think about, when we talk about something like Ladybug, that's really on the front end of this process. But let's even talk about some of the folks that you just previously mentioned. Oprah Winfrey could have seriously rested on her laurels as a multimillionaire running the Oprah Winfrey Show, the most successful talk show at its time. But what she did was part of her metamorphosis from being a broadcaster to a leader is she empowered, and a lot of people forget about this, she empowered Dr. Oz. She empowered Dr. Phil. She empowered Gayle King. And each of these people helped her build that empire. So now that she owns the Oprah Winfrey Network, now other people come into the network and they contribute through their sweat equity to build her empire. So that transformation is not instant. It's a step-by-step process of providing a framework for how to do something like the Dr. Oz show, the Dr. Phil show, Gayle King show, and then cultivating those relationships through the relationships she had to build that empire. Howard Schultz is another great example. You start with one coffee shop in Seattle. It's really based upon this whole concept of first selling the coffee and then realizing that what people didn't need was coffee. What they needed was community.
That's right.
They needed a place to go sit and talk and meet other people and be able to enjoy their life. So that movement from like what we know is kind of the basic, Dunkin' Donuts, hard plastic seats that no one wants to sit in, and Dunkin', everything about Dunkin' Donuts, right? Even their logo says, on the go, like, we don't want you here, like, get out. Whereas Starbucks was the, American runs on Dunkin'. They literally show somebody running out of the store, like not not being in there. Whereas Starbucks was the exact opposite. They wanted to build third spaces that people could go to outside of their home and outside their work. And so that was a metamorphosis. You had to find out through piece by piece planning how those things. And then Sara Blakely, selling fax machines, eventually she, through just thinking through her life as a woman, trying to figure out what are those things that I can speak about frankly and honestly that other people haven't. And that thing was shapewear with Spanx. And so she was a great person to kind of talk about that, because she could talk about it honestly as someone who had struggled with those challenges or those fears of how she looked, and really work on creating a product and speaking about it in a way that no one had spoken about it before, with a lot of candor, with a lot of honesty, and basically saying, hey, this is something that I use to feel better about myself. That required its own transformation and its own metamorphosis in terms of just being a great salesperson to being someone who really signified and identified with a quote unquote problem that her target market had. So whether we're talking about Oprah, whether we're talking about Howard Schultz, or we're talking about Sara Blakely, there's a transformation that went in there from being a basic retailer, a basic salesperson, to really identifying what people needed, what people wanted, but also more importantly, what they needed and what they wanted. I always think the best companies are those that identify what you want to have happen. Rick Rubin, the famous producer of the Beastie Boys, Run DMC, other places, in a recent interview, someone asked him, what's really the key to your success? And Rick Rubin said, well, the key to my success is I made music that I liked. I didn't care what anyone else liked. And if you think about the music produced by the Beastie Boys, by Run DMC, by Jay-Z with 99 Problems, it's so different because it's really based on one person's obsession with creating a sound that he had never heard before, that he wanted to hear. And so whether it's those folks or even Ladybug, we start out with one festival. We started to implement a Women's Week that's kind of like our version of South by Southwest. And now going into next year, that's going to evolve to a pitch competition for entrepreneurs. That's going to evolve to other different engagements. And we know we're just getting started. We will not be on the right answer until, number 7, 8 of the iteration. And so that's what's exciting about being an entrepreneur, is understanding that the process never actually ends. And there's always something to get up and ideate and create, which is what makes this exciting for everybody.
Yes, I love it. So we know that every season prepares you for the next assignment. So tonight I want to give some questions to evaluate your growth, right? So as you are going through your metamorphosis stages, these are some questions that you can ask yourself. And question number 1 is, what stage am I currently in? For some people, it's going to be a beginner stage. Some people are going to be right in the thick of it. Some people are in expansion. So just really look at where you are and be okay with that, right? But be working towards your next. And then question number 2 is, am I learning, building, leading, or multiplying, right? Just the same way that Dr. Dan was talking about how Oprah Winfrey opened the doors for so many others, right? Dr. Oz, Gayle King, and so many others. Where are you, right? Are you in a position to train your next person, right? That person that can come and step in your shoes and that could run things, or, go off and do their own thing as well. But we need to be multiplying. And then question number 3 is, where have I become too comfortable? And I'm sure that there's something that you can put on your list, but be honest with these questions, right? Allow yourself to internalize it, reflect, and then go to work, right? Pick something and start to work on it. Number 4 is going to be, what version of myself needs to be released? Ooh, that's a good one. And question number 5 is, what skills does my season require, my next season require? That may mean that you may need some additional training or a coach or a consultant or someone to come alongside you that can help you to navigate that next season, right? I tell people, the people that are in my corners today are those that can help me to navigate some $1 million problems, right? It used to be good to get a coach that could help me navigate some $100,000 problems. But these days, yeah, I'm in that next season, right? So you've got to understand what that looks like for you and then get to work. And then question number 6 is, who am I becoming? That's probably a whole page right there by itself. Take some time with that one and allow yourself to really rest there. And then question number 7, if I continue growing, what legacy could my life create? And that's the best question of all, right? We want to leave a rich legacy. And the only way that we do it is doing it, right? I always say that nothing beats work but work. So we got to make sure that we spend some time in those questions and allow yourself to really reflect. So Dr. Dan, if you will, share with us your final words for the day.
And the final words are very, very simple. Never rush transformation. Mm-hmm. We are not robots. We are living flesh and bone. As much as we, put such an emphasis on being a human being, we are all basically meat, plumbing, and electricity, right? So we are not made of metal and steel and supercomputers. And so every single thing that we go through is going to be at a different time period than another person. So never look at someone's journey and think, why them, not me, right? Because in most cases, especially if we do not live with that person, we are seeing them in social media or on the news on their best day. They have failures every day. They have challenges every day. If billionaires and multi-millionaires were perfect, they'd never get divorced. Their kids would never get arrested. They'd never get anything impounded. But we all know that is not the case. Mm-hmm. So basically, don't rush your transformation. Honor the transformation. This is what truly makes us human, is this ability to have a unique experience. Love your experience, good, bad, and ugly, and realize that's what makes you a unique person. Trust it. Keep doing the constant work. Consistency beats excellence 100% of the time.
That's right. That's right. I believe it.
Just be consistent and then always grow through it. If you're sitting there lifting weights, there are going to be days where you're like, this is not working. I'm sore, whatever. I promise you, you do arm curls for 2 years, you will have some big arms. There's no way you're not going to do it. So just make sure you do not rush the transformation. Honor the transformation, because it's the only thing that makes us human. You trust it and then grow through it.
Yeah, I'll leave everyone with this, is that the caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by trying harder, right? It becomes a butterfly by becoming something new. And this is true for us. The next level doesn't require a better strategy. It requires a better version of you. So keep growing, keep evolving, keep becoming, because the world doesn't just need what you do, it needs who you're becoming. So thank you for joining us for another episode of the Mahogany Circle Podcast. We'll see you next time. So keep building. Yes, keep building wealth, purpose,
and legacy.
We'll work on that. So thank you all for joining.
We're growing. We're metamorphosizing right there.
That's it. We're going to put it in action. Thank you so much. Y'all take care.
Welcome to the Mahogany Circle, where we rise up, make it all come forward. From the ground up, yeah, we build it right, turning knowledge into wealth for life. Mahogany strong, yeah, we own our lane. Breaking every chain, never stay the same. It's a new day, yeah, we take control. Build it up, pass it down, that's the goal. Entrepreneur spirit, we running the game. No shortcuts here, we earning the name. Investing smart, let the money grow. Multiple streams, watch the cash flow. Dr. Dan with the plan, map it out clear. Dr. Tabatha, the voice, yeah, you need that here. Game so solid, no room for fear. We talking wealth that lasts for years. shift keys, yeah, we unlock doors. Teach you how to build, then build you more. It's bigger than now, it's deeper than fame. It's family warmth, yeah, that's the aim. We don't chase it, we create it. Every move is elevated. From the vision to the strategy, this is legacy, reality.